Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I am Money Mike, and this is the Front 7 podcast. And today we will be talking how the NFL can fix the playoff structure with just one little tweak and get rid of the problem known as the NFC East. Number 2, we will also be talking Trevor Lawrence, who unfortunately the news broke last night that he tested positive for COVID-19. Get well soon, Trevor. We're all looking forward to your return to the football field. We will be talking about whether or not he should avoid the New York Jets. And that's where we're going to start. And of course, obviously, I'll have my Week 8 predictions, and I'll go over the Panthers-Falcons game from last night. So, to kick this off, we're going to go ahead and start with Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, like I said, the news broke last night. He is out of the game against Boston College on Saturday. And basically, let's all hope that this is like a false positive and nothing serious. But what is serious is the discussion going on within the sports media right now, which I was going to make a separate whole video on this next week. But there's so much buzz right now. Should Trevor Lawrence avoid the New York Jets? Should Trevor Lawrence go back to Clemson for another year? And it was just too big there was just so much chatter to avoid it. Former NFL player and Atlanta Falcon, Roddy White, I want to read here what he said. Trevor Lawrence should return to Clemson if the Jets get the number 1 pick. Let's see. From the Jets Wire USA Today, a former Pro Bowler does not think New York is the place for Trevor Lawrence to be. As we know, basically, he's a lock for the number 1 overall pick. The Jets currently are 0-7. They're very, very likely to be 0-8 after playing the Chiefs on Sunday, barring a very, very big upset. The Jets are 20-point underdogs. 19 or 20, I can't remember which one. It might be 20 now. But they're big underdogs, okay? Probably not a good bet to take if you're betting on the games this week. Kansas City essentially is a lock to beat the Jets. They're going to be 0-8 most likely and still be the only winless team left in the NFL at the halfway point. So Trevor Lawrence, the whole ordeal going into this season was tank for Trevor. A lot of people, they said, hey, Carolina, Jacksonville, everybody said all these other teams, and then the Jets said, hey, hold my tank, because now they're 0-8. Jacksonville, they're still technically in it. I think right now they would have the 2nd overall pick. But you have teams up there like Atlanta, Minnesota, Dallas, which we'll get to when we talk about the NFC East. But there's teams up here that we didn't think would be in the running that could get Trevor Lawrence if a few things go or break a certain way. But standing in the way right now is, the Jets. They're winless. They would need to win a couple games, to lose some tiebreakers, to not be the number 1 overall, to not have the number 1 overall pick. And former Falcons wideout Roddy White does not think the marriage would net the Jets or Lawrence any sort of success. In fact, he would advise Lawrence to avoid gangrene, even if it means returning to Clemson for another year. If I'm Trevor Lawrence, if the Jets finish with no wins, I just go back to Clemson. I just go back, White said. I'm just going to go back for another year. I don't want any part of that organization. If the Jets get the first pick, don't go. Just stay one more year in college and just enjoy your time, man. Enjoy your time in college, because it would be awful for you to get drafted by the Jets, because they do not know how to put anything together over there. As far as quarterbacking, Roddy White is roasting the Jets. As far as weapons around the quarterback, as far as anything that has to do with offensive talent, well, Roddy White did not hold anything back. Obviously, you have to kind of look at things. I mean, Sam Darnold, the Jets, they've tried with Mark Sanchez. They've failed with different quarterbacks in the past. So, there's a lot to what he's saying. But I think the real issue here, and you look at Tennessee, it's Adam Gase. Now, Adam Gase gave up the play calling last week, and it seemed they were on the upset alert. They were maybe potentially going to upset Buffalo. Buffalo, they won 18-10. It was just nothing but field goals for the Bills. But it seemed as if they were going to pull off the win. They didn't, so they're still winless. But even though Adam Gase gave up the play calling, it still wasn't enough. And, they've been searching for that guy for so many years, since Joe Namath, and they still haven't found him. And Trevor Lawrence is hyped up. He's basically being called the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck, which Andrew Luck was called the best quarterback prospect since Peyton Manning. So there's so much hype, and so much hype right now with Trevor Lawrence and who gets number one overall pick, right? Because, go back to January, February, when all of a sudden, Joe Burrow should avoid the Bengals. Joe Burrow should pull an Eli. In a way, the way Joe Burrow has been getting beat up every week, maybe he should have. Maybe he would be on a team with a better offensive line. I don't know. But, but I think a lot of people will see Roddy White's point about college, where it's like, go out there and just go back to college. Enjoy your time in college football. Obviously we don't have the fans. So, wait until next year, have a big farewell in front of all the fans, and, hopefully, because if we do not have full stadiums next year for college football, full arenas for basketball, full stadiums for baseball, something is completely wrong. But, I get what he's saying in terms of go out there and enjoy it. College football your time in college doesn't last, And so, yeah, go in there and stay another year and enjoy your time. The whole avoiding the Jets issue goes back to 1997. A lot of people said Peyton Manning was avoiding the Jets when he returned to Tennessee. And, the irony of all this, Tennessee, they wear orange. They had a quarterback coming out that was that was going to be the number one overall pick that year. And he returned to college. And he returned to Tennessee. Trevor Lawrence, Clemson wears orange. Overall top prospect. Likely to go number one overall. Does Trevor follow suit and return to Clemson? Which begs a question. Peyton Manning going back to Tennessee in '97, I mean, that changed the entire Jets organization. I mean, you could have had, if Peyton would have came out, he would have been a Jet. A couple years later, Belichick, Parcells steps down, Belichick takes over. Does Belichick really spurn the Jets the way he did if Peyton Manning's a quarterback? Like, could you imagine if we would have been talking about the Jets, Jets, Peyton, Jets, Manning, and Belichick instead of the Patriots, Brady, and Belichick? I mean, that was a huge missed opportunity. That's a big what if for Jets fans. But Trevor Lawrence, it could be another big what if. What if he goes back? So many of these players, I think they embrace these challenges. I think their competitiveness is too much. They embrace the challenges of becoming almost godlike. Like if Baker Mayfield turns the Browns around, he wins a Super Bowl for the Browns. The city of Cleveland will give him the keys to the city for the rest of his life, because he was the quarterback that won the Browns a Super Bowl. The same thing with Trevor Lawrence. He goes to New York. They have not had nobody since Joe Namath. So if he goes there, he wins Jets a couple Super Bowls. He's a legend in New York. Yeah, they play in New Jersey, but New York. You get what I'm saying. There's a lot of questions that Trevor needs to ask himself. I'm sure there's going to be agents lining up at his door to represent him that are going to say, hey, Trevor, we can get you in, we can work out a trade with so-and-so. I also have these clients that play for this team. They need a quarterback. We can get you here. There's going to be a lot of discussion about this as the year progresses. If the Jets still end up with the number 1 overall pick, should he avoid them? Should he not? It's going to be a compelling story to follow. I don't think Trevor should intentionally avoid the Jets, so to speak. This could be a scenario like in 1983, and like a lot of people say, pull an Eli. Like Elway was the originator. John Elway was the originator. He was like, hey, I don't want to play for the Colts because I don't like the head coach, which was Frank Kush. If you have like ESPN Plus, or I think it's still on YouTube, but go and look up and watch the 30 for 30 Elway to Marino. It goes into extensive detail. It's one of my favorite football documentaries to watch about John Elway, how he didn't want to play for the Colts. He wanted to play for a West Coast team. There was and what the agent was going through, and how he was having meetings. Watch that, because that's what we could be seeing with Trevor Lawrence. Come March, April, days leading up to the draft, could we see a Eli Phillip swap? Some team takes Justin Fields, Jets take Trevor, and then they swap them. Trevor goes to Atlanta, Justin Fields goes to New York. Whatever. That's just an example. But, again, I think his competitiveness is too much. I think these college players, when they go to these bad teams, because this isn't like the NBA lottery where you have the lottery and you could go to a decent team and, you're going to go to a bad team. That's a given. And that helps the NFL so much with competitive balance. I think the competitor in Trevor, I don't think he would avoid the Jets, so to speak, but who knows? Again, it was an interesting story to follow, and I was going to do a separate video on this next week, but there was so much chatter this week in the sports media. I had to cover it today on this show, and we're going to go from one dumpster fire in the Jets to an entire division dumpster fire. Because I have a solution to the NFL's NFC East problem. So, back in February, the NFL announced that they were going to have 7 teams in the playoffs. You know, there were some, like, people saying, well, 6 is traditional, blah, 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 and, don't like the idea. I don't mind it. I think, it puts more importance on that number 1 seed to have, where it's only one team getting the bye. I think it puts more emphasis on it. And get an extra playoff game, I have no problem with that. Now, the problem here is the NFL, when they did this, was they added essentially 3 wild cards, 5, 6, and 5th seed, 6th seed, 7th seed. The top 4 seeds are still granted to division winners. Now, the NFC East. Whew. You talk about a dumpster fire. The Eagles and the Cowboys play Sunday night. Holy crap. Can we please get the NFC East off primetime TV, please? The Eagles sit 2-4-1. The Washington football team sit 2-5 after their win over Dallas last week. Dallas also sits 2-5, and the Giants are 1-6. Now this division is wide freaking open, because this is like the one division where you can win your division, but you're just as close as getting the number 1 pick as you are winning your division. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy right now. This division is terrible. And, a lot of people we went over this with Seattle a couple years ago. They were 7-9, and of course we had Beastquake, and obviously that started the trend of the Saints defenses choking in playoff games. But it was a lot of talk then saying that, hey, they shouldn't be hosting a game, right? They shouldn't be hosting a playoff game because the wild card team has a better record. And the NFL could have fixed all of this when they added the 7th seed by seeding the teams by record. If the NFL I still want divisions to matter. I don't want this to be the NBA where divisions really don't matter. You can still have, winning your division gets you into the playoffs. It just doesn't guarantee you a home playoff game, because you have to have one of the top 4 records in your conference. And, let's go ahead and look right now. I mean, the current standings as of week 7, okay? As of last week, since we're talking about the NFC East, currently, Packers 5-1 would be your 1 seed. The Seahawks 5-1, 2 seed. The Buccaneers 5-2 would be your 3 seed, and the Eagles at 2-4 and 1 would be your 4th seed, virtue of them winning their division, so to speak. Let's say the playoffs started this week. The Eagles would be hosting a playoff game against the Chicago Bears, who are 5-2. You have the Arizona Cardinals 5-2, the Rams 5-2. So, obviously the question is, should the Eagles be hosting a playoff game? I don't think so. I mean, look, by the rules, they should be hosting a division game. That's how the NFL put it. You win your division, you're granted one of the top 4 seeds. Now you could have done this when we had 6 teams too, and just field the 6 teams or seed them by record. You fix that easily. Same thing here, especially now you have 7 teams. This was the perfect chance for the NFL to do that, to finally fix this problem that we're having. I think fans would not have had a problem if divisions still matter. If winning your division still gets you in, fine. But it doesn't guarantee you a playoff game unless you have one of the 4 top records in your conference. I'd be alright with it. I think a lot of the NFL fans would. Because under that scenario, let's look here. Like I said, currently, let's put that back up on the screen. Your current wild card games based off the standings currently would be the Rams going to Seattle, 7th seed playing the 2 seed, Arizona going to Tampa, and the Bears going to Philadelphia. Now let's flip reverse, okay? Because the Packers would still be the 1 seed, but now the Eagles, 2-4-1, would now go down to the 7th seed. Basically, everybody moves up. The Bears would move up to 4. I mean, you have a bunch of tiebreakers, basically, that I'm not going to go over, but essentially the Eagles would be playing the Seahawks as the new 7th seed, so to speak. So I think that makes more sense to what the NFL should have done to avoid this whole issue to begin with. And even then, like, you look at it, like, essentially, the Bills are 5-2, by virtue of their being AFC East division champions. They would be the 4th seed, but now Baltimore would move up to the 4th seed, and the Colts would still be, they're 4-2. They would still play the Chiefs, but Baltimore would just move up 1 in the rankings. So it's interesting to me where the NFL could have avoided all this big mess with the NFC East by just reseeding everybody by record. If the NFL would have said, division you still get in by winning your division, but we will be seeding everybody by record, so you were not guaranteed a home game. This whole issue could have been avoided. That's all I'm saying. So we're going to go ahead, as always, close out the show with my predictions for the week. But Carolina and Atlanta played last night. Not too much here from an offensive standpoint. It wasn't until late in the game that Teddy Bridgewater found DJ Moore for a 42-yard gain, trying to make the comeback late to win the game. That was essentially the biggest play for both teams. So that tells you from an offensive standpoint where it was kind of sluggish. But in the end, Atlanta gets the win, 25-17. Atlanta fans, you didn't blow a lead. The Falcons didn't blow a lead, so now you can rejoice. You can stop sweating. 25-17. Atlanta moves to 2-6 on the year. Carolina they will now go to 3-5. It's amazing that essentially Teddy Bridgewater was able to finish the game. He took a nasty hit to the head, which I fully expect the league to discipline Falcons edge rusher Charles Harris for the hit to Teddy Bridgewater, which was a hit to the head, knocked him out for a little bit. XFL standout quarterback PJ Walker, he came in for a little bit there, but Bridgewater did return. So I was happy to see Bridgewater return after such a nasty hit. But Atlanta now, I originally picked Carolina to win. So I'm already 0-1 for this week. So as for the rest of week number 8, let's hope Sunday's a lot better, which obviously it should be. But just from a prediction standpoint here, Patriots Bills. Obviously, this game has a whole different meaning in 2020, where the Patriots are below 500. They're 2-4. The Bills, they're leading the division at 5-2, and essentially, I have the Bills winning here, improving to 6-2. Cornerback Stephon Gilmore is apparently selling his house, which, I mean, that worked well for Carlos Dunlap, who put his house for sale in Cincinnati. He was then traded like a day later to Seattle after he posted his house up for sale. Stephon Gilmore, essentially, ironically, in the listing of his house, said that all offers have to be in by November 3rd, which is the trade deadline. So now there's rumors Patriots are going to listen for offers on anybody. So rebuild on the way. Are the Patriots trying to get in on this Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes? Moving along, Titans, Bengals. Tennessee looks to rebound against Cincinnati after their loss to Pittsburgh. I have Tennessee here winning. I forgot to pick a winner in Buffalo, New England. I'm picking Buffalo. Picking Tennessee to beat the Bengals, the Raiders, and the Browns. The Cleveland Browns, they're 5-2. They're in the playoff hunt. So we'll see if they can stay there. Which they should. I have the Browns beating the Raiders. So it seems as if there might be some January football for Cleveland fans this year. The Colts and the Lions. The Colts right now, they're the 7th seed in the AFC. The Lions, they have won 2 in a row. They also acquired a pass rusher in Cowboys edge rusher Everson Griffin for a 2021 6th-round pick. That's a pretty good price. I'm surprised no other teams jumped in. We'll talk about Dallas later. But Detroit now trying to get back into the thick of the NFC playoff picture as they are 3-3. I have the Colts coming out on top on this. If Detroit gets in the playoffs, that pretty much means Matt Patricia. And I don't know if Lions fans could stand another year of Matt Patricia in Detroit. Vikings, Packers, let's stay in the NFC North. Again, this game here was probably, in the off season. We look at this and say, this is probably a battle for the division. Well, the Vikings are 1-5. They traded Yannick. They're kind of in a rebuild almost. They're up there in the Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes. So, Packers, they rebounded last week against Houston. I look for them to continue their momentum against the Vikings. Jets, Chiefs, I'm picking the Chiefs. That's like a lock of the week, basically. Rams and Dolphins. So here's the irony of this. So So the last time the Rams played the Dolphins was in 2016. And that was, ironically, Jared Goff's first NFL career start. Now, in 2020, the Dolphins and the Rams are meeting again, but this time, Tua Tagovailoa gets his first NFL start as he gets a welcome committee of Aaron Donald and company of the Rams in his first NFL start. Welcome to the league, Tua. Dolphins are 3-3. They're right there in the playoff hunt. I think they made this move because they feel with Tua they can make a push for the playoffs. I actually have the Dolphins winning against. I have the Dolphins. I don't know if you want to consider it an upset, but I have the Dolphins winning over the Rams in Tua's first start. Steelers, Ravens, I go back and forth on this. Essentially, Steelers are too good. I'm picking the Steelers here. I think the Ravens are going to be there in the playoffs. They'll be all right. But this is looking to be Pittsburgh's year. It seems like they just can't. They're hitting on all cylinders. I knew that they would be good once they got Big Ben back this year, but I didn't expect them to be this good. The last time they started 6-0, they won a Super Bowl. So the Ravens, they're 5-1. The last two times the Ravens started 5-1, they won Super Bowls. So we'll see who comes out on top. I expect probably a defensive game here, but I think the Steelers will edge them out. They meet again on Thanksgiving night in Pittsburgh. Chargers, Broncos, Justin Herbert and company head to Denver. I'm picking Justin Herbert and the Chargers to win here. I think they'll carry some momentum over from their win in Jacksonville last week. Saints and the Bears, I'm picking the Saints. Seems as if whatever magic Nick Foles had is gone. So I'm picking the Saints here. They'll go to 5-2. They'll keep up with the Bucks. 49ers Seahawks. I have the Seahawks rebounding against the 49ers. And in the Sunday night game, again, please NFL, get the NFC East off primetime TV. Cowboys, Eagles. I have the Eagles winning this. With the Eagles, Cowboys looking to start rookie Ben DiNucci, basically with Andy Dalton out. I expect the Eagles to win here. Monday night, Buccaneers, Giants. Tom Brady, the Buccaneers, everything lined up where Tampa plays basically all the ghosts of Tom Brady's career. And so we get that here with the Giants. And I'm picking the Bucs here. Giants are terrible. Buccaneers win over the Giants. Those are my Week 8 picks. And let me know what you think in the comments below. Should Trevor Lawrence avoid the New York Jets? Should the NFL restructure the playoffs so we can avoid the NFC East issues that we are having currently? And of course, do you agree or disagree with my picks? Comment below, like, and subscribe for more of the Front 7, as I will be back next Friday, pending any breaking news that breaks over the weekend. With trade deadline day, I will do a video most likely if anything breaks with the trade deadline, any big names on the move. I will be here to cover that if that happens. otherwise, I will see you all right here next Friday, as we will be officially at the halfway point, looking ahead into Week 9 of the 2020 NFL season. I've been your host, Money Mike, and let's go ahead and enjoy some football this weekend.